Hey guys, what's up? This is Awwyeeah and it's an honor to serve the king. So today I want to review my favorite game on the Oculus Quest. I wonder if you guys know what it is, but if you don't already know, this game is Ironlights. Ironlights is the greatest game, in my opinion, ever created on the Quest. And I want to go today we're going to do something kind of interesting. We're going to go in the shop, the Ironlight shop for the Oculus Quest, and we're going to look at some of the reviews, and we're going to review the reviews. It's going to be kind of interesting. I bet you it's going to be hilarious, but let's go ahead and see this. So Ironlights is on the shop. Man, this thing is really loud and epic. Epic but loud. Okay, so as you can see, we are on the Ironlights Armory update. And it features here, customize your fighter with all sorts of new weapons and cosmetic options. Ironlights is a VR dueling game with skillful, fluid, slow motion melee combat. I think a lot of misconception about the game comes from the slow motion. A lot of people think that because it says slow motion, they're like, oh man, you mean I can't really swing my hand or swing a sword or whatever at full speed? And that is not the case at all. In fact, if the game was functioning at normal, say, realistic combat speed, there would be no way to really balance all the different types of weapon physics and everything. Actually, the game, by slowing it down, it actually makes it very fast, and it really capitalizes on skillful play, and it allows you to practice your technique in a fashion that you can visibly see the skill cap, or you can visibly see why one technique is superior to another, or a person that's practiced, he's not just spamming, just going crazy, and just expect someone to die. There's technique and flow, and it's just really overall a very well thought out play. And so my advice to anyone that sees slow motion in the description and like, oh man, it's not going to be fast, it's a very fast paced game. In fact, even with it slowed down, combat is so fast, and sometimes you can barely even keep up, and depending on the level of the player that you're facing. And so without all that said, let's go ahead and read some of these comments. So as you can see in the reviews, Ironlights is 4.3. It's pretty highly rated. It got 1,585 ratings, 892 reviews. More or less, it has 67% 5 rated, so the majority is rated high or above. I honestly think that this should be close to 4.7, 4.8. It's just an amazing game. It's very simple. It's a simple concept, and it's just basically sword fighting, axe fighting, shield, whatever you want to call it, in VR, and I think it captures it just beautifully. One of the things I always dreamed of growing up is playing a game or being able to play with swords or a weapon without killing the other person I'm playing with. And so Ironlights, it does that, and there's actually quite a lot of skill behind the game in an esport aspect, but more on that later. Let's go ahead and read some of these reviews. Alright, so as you can see, the first one, it says details before you buy. Let's see if we can expand these. Alright, this game is fun, but if you want to have a more realistic sword fighting game than this is not for you. Okay. It has slow motion, which is okay. You cannot counter attacks when defending. Yes, you can. I mean, that's the whole point. If you can't counter an attack while defending, then how can you survive an attack? So this is definitely, it says you have to reach behind your back after each swing, thus telegraphing your next swing. Be aware of this before buying. So this is a buyer. As you can see, he gave 4 stars, which is modest for his review, which doesn't really line up because it doesn't really describe the game in detail. Yes, the game has slow motion, but it's slow motion. I don't know if you can see my finger. Alright, you can't. Just pretend I'm doing the quotation marks. Even if the slow motion, the game is extremely fast-paced, especially depending on what weapon you're using. If you're using Ninja or you're using Duelist, you're basically operating at real-life speed. Why? Because the slow motion is supposed to also simulate the weight and the gravity behind weapons. If you're swinging a saber, right, and you're just swinging so fast that your opponent can't even see where the blade is, in real life, when you're swinging a rapier, it has some weight to it. So you're not going to be swinging at it like the speed of light, because what? You're going to either decapitate yourself, or you're not going to be able to see the technique that you're trying to pull off. And not even in real life, you don't see anyone, that what is it called, jousting, or whatever it is, that they do with the rapier, dueling, right? I guess it's called dueling, right? You duel, and you're not moving like, no one's trying to be Sonic. Everyone is trying to do precise, fine-tuned, very nice movements, and that's the game captures that with the slow motion. A big old hammer, how are you going to swing that, at the speed of light? It has weight to it, and the slow motion adds that weight element to the weapon. And so, I give kudos to this person who reviewed. 4 stars is a good review, but it doesn't really describe the game perfectly. And this is a common misconception. When I see this type of review, it really it does rub me the wrong way, because it tells me that the person that played this game didn't really play it enough, or probably didn't get past the tutorial and jump into the multiplayer to see just how difficult it can be trying to keep up with a player that is diamond level skill or above. This game has an extremely high skill cap. Alright, so let's look at the next one. It says it depends on the people. Sometimes you can get a person that likes to spam, like my cousin. I played with, man, those cousins, I tell you. I played with my cousin for a while, and he had a maximum level of everything. And he had a special armor and kept using the bow staff, okay? So I guess the bow, while spamming me with it. And he said it was skill, even though it's literally just smacking yourself in the face with it. But there is always that rare time when you get someone that actually knows how to fight. One time I was fighting with one man, and he had a fluid motion, and he wouldn't spam every single strike. He would give me a thumbs up. When he finally defeated me, he bowed, and I also bowed. But more like that man, it depends on the people and the other. More depends on the people, but other than that, I would give it 5 stars. But 90% of the PvP community uses the curse word vocabulary every time they're playing. That's kind of unfortunate. I'll pause there, and I feel that this review was genuine. Definitely, the community does definitely make a game, and unfortunately, especially in a combat game, I can't tell you how many times I got cursed out because I beat somebody in Ironlights in an online match, just playing normally, but they're mad because they lost. It's not like I expect somebody to be happy about losing, especially if you're fighting. Imagine, you're boxing in real life. You're not going to be throwing jabs and punch. Oh, nice punch there. You really caught me at the chin. They're a good technique. In the moment, you're very heated, and things can get very heated very fast in online combat. But again, that doesn't give the excuse of being a toxic individual or making somebody feel bad because they play well. That is, in my opinion, is dishonorable, and it has no place online. You can be angry, be frustrated. If you're going to be frustrated at yourself for not improving your skill or doing what you need to do to get better. But don't take it out on the other person that has invested their time trying to improve their technique and just become as good as they possibly can. And I definitely agree with him in that aspect. So let's continue. Where did we leave off? The community uses a curse word every time they're playing. I don't think there's a voice chat. So I would give it 5 stars. Okay, I don't really understand that. I don't think there's a voice chat, so I would give it 5 stars. There is a voice chat, so I'm a little bit confused on that. But there's also a very high chance that you can get a complete spammer. Listen, I haven't played in a while because it reminded me of my cousin. Man, those cousins, I tell you. And now I hate oh my gosh, he hates his cousin now. And now I'm thinking about getting it again, which I'm already downloading it as I'm writing. Thus, I love the game. Let's hope the community is nice. And I would get it unless you are very active, actually helpful. Okay, so I guess he had a long review, really. All right, so this is the actually helpful section of his review. This is interesting. This game is pretty good. After a while, when you get better, you can actually go into fights. But if you have a hard time, either it's because you are inactive, sorry, don't understand, or you don't have any I guess those were emojis, or you don't have any special moves, like you could be using the same attack every single. Eventually you'll get to it needing completely unpredictable. Like, the game is amazing for like Beat Saber Legends if you want to go be that one scumbag that completely spams someone and then go ahead and win the game for everyone else. emoji. You can download fighters, and that must sound weird, but people can create AI characters and send them out and see how many people can take out, as long as you don't make them 100% blocking, because then you're just rude. If you're active, this game isn't for you, and if you aren't, you don't get the motion sickness. Then if this didn't help you, I don't know. I don't mean to go on a little bit rambling in the area, but I'll try again in a second. So this one started off like sounding like he's starting to warm up to the game and understand that there's more techniques than just the one, that you can actually do things. And then it just takes a turn. And I really don't understand. You can download fighters. That may sound weird. Create an AI character, blocking, but don't make him like 100% blocking. Alright, so yeah, I understand. Don't create weird AI characters, okay? I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and then this is a maybe helpful section. If you are active and you want something that will knock you out cold, this is a good choice. But make sure you have a big play area so you don't slap your hands on the wall. Okay, yeah. You need a decent size. You can literally, I know people that are champion players that play in their bedroom between their computer and their bed. And I'm talking like a space as small as like a, I don't even know what to say. I guess a portable toilet. You seen those? Like how small they are? Like there are some players that play in spaces like that, and they are super effective in how they play. So, but I could understand, not wanting to slap your hand, or I have an entire room that I play VR in. And sometimes, I've kicked the wall one time, I slapped my hand on something random that was in the room, it definitely can happen. I understand. So, let's continue. It says, good choice, big play area, so you don't slap your hand on the wall, because that would suck. Great for attacking friends, but if you have friends, this game, they say it might be a freaking beautiful game, but that is only because they've been playing it for a while, and there's some hardship when you're first starting, yes, definitely. But you can also look up on YouTube different play styles, active, slow strategy, Leroy Jenkins, and that one guy that won't stop attacking. Or maybe you can make a new one and be your best self, okay? Or else you'll get banned if you have siblings and you are a very open area where everyone walks, and you might accidentally knock someone out, because if you don't have an open area, people will walk through and choose a time when people don't walk through, like your siblings playing. Yes, watch out for your siblings with danger and decide to run into you while you're playing Beat Saber or this game, because at one time I was playing multiplayer with my friend in Oculus chat in Beat Saber. One of my sisters decided to ram headfirst into my chest, and I smacked her back extremely hard with the controller and knocked the wind out of her somehow, and then I got grounded. I couldn't play. Alright, this is a very, this is definitely in the maybe helpful, but I appreciate the level of detail that this person went into. So everyone has their own experience. So let's see this person, 5 stars. Read if you're thinking about buying. When you look at this game, it's actually fun and challenging at the same time on higher difficulties. Definitely agree. But basically, you're a gladiator fighting in an area for fame and money and advances in the league. Pretty much, it's read if you're thinking about buying. When you're looking at this game, it's fun and challenging at the same time on higher difficulties. Basically, a gladiator fighting in an area for fame or money or advances in the league. Pretty much. So pretty much this is basically a gladiator game. You get a weapon, you fight for survival, and if you win, you get advances in rank. It's a pretty simple game. The gameplay is fun and can be wild. Lunging left and right and ducking is actually fun, but I'm not the most athletic guy, and you don't really get exhausted with all the fun that you'll be having. That's right. I can't tell you the amount of time I've spent in here. This is basically my gym, my workout. There's no need for me to do cardio or go running, because every time I play this in a competitive matter, I'm sweating bullets. And especially after running into another champion player, I have to take a shower immediately after, because that is just how intense battles get. There are multiple classes to suit your playstyle, with range better than others, some strong melee attack options, and yours the same for your opponents if they are B players or AI. That's right. And if you're worrying about not picking up picking it up, there are a few modes to help you get better training to fight against enemy classes. Sandbox, make or download your own AI fighters. A tutorial will help you with the basics. In my personal opinion, this game is fun for casual play and competitive, but I find myself mostly in campaign climbing randomly generated AI leaderboard, and it always changes. And so if you like to go a couple hours without playing game, some AI will fall and some will climb. And this was an AI named Ruckus, and their class was Crusaders first round and bronze at the top challenge. I challenged them to a duel. I guess he meant duel. I lost, and then I found how. I guess he meant I fell halfway in the gold tournament when side note, there is still on the leaderboard, I don't know, it's still on the leaderboard, I don't know if it's intended, but it adds like a personal rival. Not sure the game mechanic, but it adds some immersion that you're not only the one climbing to the top. So all around good game, fun, and just doing a backspin with the monk staff, I guess it's different, he meant to say. So, alright, pretty good review from I guess this is a more casual player perspective, so that's interesting. I'm mostly purely competitive online multiplayer, so I only jump in the single player campaign when I want to test out techniques. So let's see, great game overall, 5 stars. And I do like this game a lot, and I've played when I'm able to. I really love the inclusion of the sandbox mode. It's pretty fun. Sandbox mode is a mode where you can use literally dozens and dozens upon different types of weapons in a very not for, how do I want to say, it's a type of mode that it doesn't really count against you, so you can really experimental mode. The battles, being able to make your own character in a game, the battles that are already in the campaign are pretty nice and challenging as well. However, the main thing I would really like them to fix is the online play. Let's see. I constantly got players who would abuse the boundary ring and go all the way to the end of it, or all the way to the beginning when attacking. Gets annoying to reposition yourself when you're playing in stationary mode, and just annoying to deal with it overall. It was maybe not want to play online. Okay, I gotta pause here. All right, let me just read the whole thing before I get in. So this is more of the player's fault who do this, but it'll be nice to see if there's something that they can do to resolve this. All right, so this person, he gave 5 stars, commendable, but his review, all right, I have to address this. Sorry. The game is not meant, yes, it can be played seated mode. It's really meant for, to be inclusive, and not anyone that is not able to move around, that they're able to still play the game in a fashion that is enjoyable to a degree. However, the part where he says abuse the boundary ring, literally, I would say 60% of your skillful play comes from actual weapon combat, and the other 40% comes from utilizing, I don't know if you can see it here, utilizing your boundary ring as effectively as possible. You're going to be moving, you're going to be dodging, you're going to be ducking, you're going to be going back. If they step forward, you step back. If they step back, you step forward. You have to utilize your entire boundary ring area, and that is a core element of combat of this game. And people need to understand that it's not abusing, it's not being unfair if you're ducking or you're moving or you're doing this. You literally have to. There are some weapons like the Reaper Blade where if they step forward, they're going to get all the way behind you, and you need to step as far back, I'm talking all the way back to the edge of the ring, to be able to block that blade effectively. There are just so many, and another one is Berserker. It can get behind your field of view, and you have to get all the way back to block it from the side, or this side when you're swinging. It's definitely, so this is definitely I want to say a player error. This review, it could be a little misleading because it makes it seemed like you're not supposed to do that, when actually the core element of the game is actually utilizing our boundary ring as much as possible. So I'm happy that they rated the game high, but then the review doesn't really describe the game well. So let's find a low review. Look at this one. It's just yes. That's how I feel. I want to find one that's really low. All right, here's one that's 3 stars. Let's read it. Fun game, awful balance. The game is fun, but there are some weapons that are flat out more powerful than others and that require very little skill. if you're thinking about getting this game, almost every weapon uses the same weapon, the katana. It is very light and fast, and by far the blade blocks all the damage. It's pretty boring to play against almost every player. Alright, so this is pretty funny for a specific reason. It's funny because this is a perspective of somebody that just got the game, and unfortunately it seems that they jumped right into the multiplayer and they went up against players that utilized the samurai blade. And so I believe that he's telling 100% the truth. However, the part of it which is kind of funny is that every weapon in the game can be skillfully used to beat another weapon. There's no weapon that is 100% in favor of matchup. It used to be at the very early terms of balance, especially when new weapons are released. For instance, when Scourge came out, and it wasn't really fine tuned as much. It directly countered Monk. It was literally maybe an 80-90% win rate if you chose Scourge and you ran up against a Monk. But that was in the early days of balance. Now every single class is very balanced and is very capable to beat another class, but it comes down to being able to practice and use that weapon skillfully. But here, especially what's funny with the katana blade, I do agree with this post for the reason of the samurai blade is just really strong right now. It is really strong. It does a lot of damage. It has a lot of blocking potential, and it's very hard to keep up with, especially when you're up against a player that has practiced the samurai blade. It gets worse. And so I can imagine from his perspective as a new player, I want to play duelist, or I want to play the hammer, right? And he goes up not knowing how to use the hammer to defend properly, and then goes up against the samurai and just gets eviscerated. And then that happens over and over. I can understand why that gets frustrating. On the real, I will say the samurai probably does need a little bit more tuning. Probably just a damage reduction, a slight damage reduction. It had got physics change just a few weeks ago. It had a physic and I believe a damage reduction, but some people still find the damage really strong. It is a single blade, and so if you break that blade, it's pretty much the only thing it has going for it to deal damage. And so when it does damage really hard. And so maybe just a slight damage reduction, and I believe that it will be a little more tolerable to play against. And so I would say this post is great. It's a little on the low side. It's unfortunate because, as you can see, from a new player, he just had a bad experience going against Samurai. But he gave a 3. He didn't give it a 2 or a 1. And so I will say this is a okay perspective from a new player. That got a sour taste in his mouth with the Samurai class. Unfortunately, my advice is for him to definitely jump back into it and just practice against samurai bots or against samurai players until you develop a technique that you're able to counter them. It's definitely possible. I do it all the time with Monk. You can do it with Duelist. There are classes that still struggle against samurai. For instance, Berserker struggles against samurai. But samurai, it struggles against dragoon as well. It struggles against monk. So it's definitely a balance, just figuring out how to effectively play against it. But good review overall, I will say. Let's find another one that's really low. Really okay. Another one that says unbalanced classes and no fair punishing. This game is a lot of fun, I agree, but the classes are not fair and unbalanced, and they take no skill. What? Is he talking about Swords of Gargantua, or is this Ironlights talking about this game takes no skill and ruin the fun? There are people that are also swinging their weapons through their bodies as a strategy, and the punish for that is taking away only an inch of stamina. But there are people that walk forward and don't want to back up because I might trip and fall. So another person that doesn't want to utilize his full gaming space because of personal reasons. And there are lag switchers who make the internet terrible on purpose to get an advantage, and I can't report them for it because what I'm saying is they're trying to be fighting. The fighting mechanism in this game is fun, but the punishment system for not holding back players from cheating. Alright, so there are a couple elements here. There are definitely a couple elements to this review. First of all, this game does take skill. It's a very skilled game, so I'm not even going to get into that because that's not even a discussion. The part where it says people are swinging through their bodies on purpose to lose an inch of stamina, I would say that is definitely not true. You'll be surprised. The game punishes people who, if you hit your body with your weapon, you lose stamina, yes. But the consequences of doing that can be very detrimental, especially when you're trying to pull energy and that momentum resets because you hit your body, and that can be devastating when you're trying to outpace your opponent in damage or defensively, and you hit yourself and you have to restart building that momentum again. And so skillful players, you'll notice you'll never see them hit themselves with their weapon, but it's only those players, that are, I would say, gold level or below, that you see hitting themselves very frequently. And and you'll notice a difference when you put those type of players against very high school players, and you'll notice that high school players never hit themselves and they're very effective in their technique. Low skill players will hit themselves to try and pull off moves that they otherwise wouldn't, and still will not win. So yeah, that's what I will say about that. And then where he says people like switchers, so I haven't personally seen people who made their internet bad on purpose. I think generally it's just the fact that you can be in the US and come fight against somebody who's in Australia, and the internet connection, it just isn't great between you two. This P2P is peer-to-peer connection, and so there's a way that you can actually toggle that off in the menu and just fight people that are local or in your nation or in your country region. I guess it says close regions only, so you turn that on and you don't have to deal with players fighting players from all the way across the world. I leave it on because I just want the experience of fighting somebody in Finland or Africa or Zimbabwe or whatever. Is just, for me, it's exciting. And so sometimes I get those matches where it's like I'm fighting Mr. Game & Watch, but it's a choice that I made, so it's really, so I think that the game, it does a good job of punishing players that do that. You can definitely, if you run into somebody that is intentionally abusing game mechanics, you can report it on Discord. We have a Discord and where the devs regularly read, and if you report it, the devs or either the moderators will take this into account and take punishable action if so. Yeah, this is another review that really it's a very skewed perception, to be honest. All right, let's look at a review that has a high rated review. So let's look at this one here that says S tier game. I started playing about a month or two ago, but I got addicted to it very fast. I literally can't stop playing. I've already made it to Link rank and I'm getting champion rank soon. Okay, wonder who he is. Ranking goes as follow: bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, elite, champion. Bronze through diamond, I go through tiers 1, 2, and 3. This is just in case you need to know the ranking system. Anyway, it is an amazing game. The movements are nice and fluid. See, someone that actually got past the tutorial and actually invested time in learning. See, it's a fluid game. There's a variety of 10 weapons that are all unique with their strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes it's hard to choose one weapon to stick with at first, but eventually you'll find one that suits your playstyle. Okay, cool. When I first started playing, immediately I gravitated to the Crusader class, which is the shield and flail, and it is still to this day my first love class. I had to switch it up and play 3 classes because to progress in the multiplayer, say you win, you're really good with one class and you win it, your opponent can actually ban that class to your the next match, which is best of 3. So I had to basically learn how to play other classes. So now I play Crusader, Monk, and Knight as my top 3, and I love them all. But Crusader will always be my number 1. The campaign is really easy, and coins are basically meaningless since campaign gives you so many of them. Pretty much, yeah. There's a new update that I think is coming and releases in November. So this definitely has passed. Yep, those updates are live. It's the sandbox mode, and it is awesome. And a lot of cool stuff in balance stages is coming. Yes, those balance stages are active, which I will have to say that currently this is the most balanced multiplayer has ever been. It has ever been. Even classes that are really strong, like Berserker and Samurai, you can beat them. They're not unbeatable. And so it's in terms of balance, It is the most balanced. I'll go on record saying that right now in Ironlights, it is the most balanced the game has ever been. People who review this with 1 star probably expect to win fights just by doing basic movements and no effort at all, but to really win fights you have to be moving a bit and keep the flow of your weapon as you move with it in slow motion. Yes, unfortunately there are a few players that play now, but as long as someone is online, you'll find a match quite often, but in a way also no. In summary, amazing game, highly recommend. So this is a spot on, I'm not trying to be biased, but this is definitely a spot on review. As you can see, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. They did explain why they love the game, and also things that they don't like that they wish they could improve. And I agree with the sentiment that one of the downers is that sometimes it could be, depending on the time that you log in, there could be probably few people online. There's always people online, but it might be difficult as you get higher ranked to find higher ranked people. For instance, most of them, I find that majority of high ranked players log on at 2 points. If they're in the UK, they'll log on really early, probably around 7, 8, 9, 10 a.m. and then subsequently 2, 3, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And by that time, they're headed to bed because they're in UK. I'm based in the US, but for US, you find that most people during the week play around nighttime. So after 5 p.m. when everybody's coming out of work, so 5, 6, 7, all the way till midnight. And then even past midnight, sometimes 1, 2 o'clock a.m., 3 a.m., you find people online. But there are dead times where you'll try and log on and there's no one online, probably around between 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That's everybody's lunchtime, maybe they're at work, or at school. And so that's probably the slowest time to find an opponent. But early in the morning you can find people, late at night you definitely find lots of people. And so great review. So let's look at one more really good review. Let's see, I want to stay recent, I don't want to go too far back. Alright, let's look at this one from 3 months. Alright, incredibly well made, real review. Alright, so okay, this is the first time I've written a review, but this game is addicting as you get it. So the slow motion isn't unbearably slow, but if you just move in a slower motion, it works perfectly fine. I personally find I like that you have to reload your weapon after blocking or attacking. All the classes are so fun to play, and pretty easy to learn as well, except Dragoon. Dragoon is really difficult because it's a bilateral class. You have to learn how to play with your left and right hand at the same time, so definitely understand it, and it's different physics. So yep, I will say that that's true. Since this is a ranked based game, you will most likely always go against opponents your rank to make it fair. Yep, the customization in this game is also pretty incredible. Most of it is cosmetic, and you can make some crazy cool color combinations. Indeed, there are some combinations of people that I've seen online that I just have to stop and just admire, their creativity. I always love seeing what people come up with, especially in the multiplayer. One thing I will say is that this game can be challenging, especially if you're playing a hard class like Dragoon, Reaper, Berserker. Definitely. But if there are some classes that are pretty easy to learn, so yeah, definitely like Duelist, Samurai, Ninja, and my main Monk. All the classes have their advantages and disadvantages, so no matter the matchup, it should be balanced and mostly dependent on skill. This game is definitely a grab if you like dueling types of game. Absolutely. I really like how they highlighted the fact that there are certain classes that have higher difficulty, or I would say a higher skill cap than other classes, such as Dragoon, Reaper, Berserker. It's harder to defend with Berserker. It's harder to attack with or to defend with Reaper and Dragoon, because those classes have very unique physics. Reaper has a curved blade and a shielded bar where it's hard to position against classes that move fast. Dragoon has 2 different types of weapons, which is not too hard to defend with, but you really have to pay attention to the swing speed and physics of each type of weapon for Dragoon. And then Berserker is just a very difficult class to defend with, but if you can learn how to defend with Berserker, you will be a very scary Berserker, because everyone can deal damage with Berserker, but not everybody can defend themselves with Berserker. So, and this is really good, really great review. So this was just a little bit of I just wanted to go through the reviews of Ironlights. It's a very highly rated game. Again, it's 4.3 rated on the shop, the Oculus shop. And so overall, just a really, really great game. A lot of the people that give it wonder if I could have give it the low rated is people that jump in a game, play for 30 minutes, see slow motion. This is the first thing that you'll see in their review. The reviews that are low, but they haven't really jumped into true multiplayer experience and put enough time practicing weapons to see just the depth behind the game. At face value, the game is very simple, so I understand why people, they jump in and they expect to know everything, because they think, oh, it's just a game that you swing weapons and you beat the other person in the face with a sword, and if you lose, you're bad. If you win, you're good. No, it's not. This has so much technique. So much technique, just like as if you were to watch a dueling match between people in real life. Using rapiers, there's a lot of skill, there's a lot of practicing technique that goes into it. And this game basically takes this to the 10th level, where you can practice skills not only with a rapier, but you can use a two-handed sword, you can use a two-handed hammer, you can use a shield and flail, you can use a bow staff, you can use ninja katars, which is basically dual swords, you can use a scythe. There's just so much skill behind all these classes, different ways that you can play it, attacking and defending, using ranged weapons. And not only that, but these weapons aren't just weapons that you swing, they have ranged attacks, ranged techniques that brings it even further. The skill cap of how to utilize each weapon type. It's just, this game is freaking amazing. Can you believe it? I bought 2 quests. I have a quest 1 and a quest 2. And out of all the games available, Ironlights is my number 1 game on both of them. It's the only game that I play. I log on and I'm playing Ironlights. I'm training in Ironlights. I'm playing Ironlights. It's just Ironlights. Sometimes I'll dabble maybe a few minutes here and there in other games, but I'm on Ironlights 99% of the time because it's just such an amazing game. I feel like when I put on the headset, if I'm not playing Ironlights, I'm cheating. I'm cheating on Ironlights because I feel like there's just, even a player like me that's been playing for literally almost 2 years or a year and a half, I don't know. I feel like there's just so much for me to learn and just to practice, just like how somebody that's an athlete or a sports professional, they practice their technique every day. Why? Because if you don't use it, you lose it. And I truly believe that. Although I find sometimes when I take healthy breaks, and I'll come back and I'm even better than I was before. But you definitely have to practice their technique. You have to put in the time, and you have to really invest in what you want to excel in. And so it's the same with Ironlights. And so definitely a really great game. As you can see, it's almost 5 stars. If this game is such a hidden gem, if more people knew about it and played it, they would just the population would explode. I sometimes worry about what would happen if this game ever went mainstream, right? And a lot of people found out of it. Would our servers even be able to handle, say 5,000 people online at the same time? Because this game has that potential. It's just, not a lot of people know about it. The developer doesn't do any true marketing for the game. It's all word of mouth. If you have it, you share it with your friends, tell them, hey, this game's kind of cool, you should try it out. And that's pretty much how all these players have found out about the game so far. He said on a monthly basis about 5,000 people play Ironlights daily, but I think this game has potential to be as fun as an MMO. This game is as great as it gets for an MMO weapon dueling combat game. This is number 1, hands down, number 1 game on the Oculus Quest for weapon fighting, for sword fight. This is the game you want to play. And so I hope you enjoyed this review. My name is Awwyeeah, and it's an honor to serve the king, and I hope to see you online. Definitely, if you've been considering whether to buy this game, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. This is a game that you will not regret having in your library. And if you are passionate about staying fit and sword fighting, or you just like MMA or boxing, but you're into swords and weapons too, this is the game for you. If you're a competitive person, this is the game for you. If you want to lose a couple pounds while having fun, this is the game for you. So that's enough said. I'll see you guys online. Make sure to check out the merch shop if you want to get some Ironlights merch, and I'll see you next time.